So myself, I am Khalil Ahmed, Irfan, and Dinesh Kumar. We three will be taking sessions. Dinesh Kumar, he is our data analyst, and the Irfan, he is our junior data analyst. So both will be taking sessions, and whatever doubts you have, like you can WhatsApp us. One second, share my screen. So whatever doubts you have, like you can let us know at the end of the session. And we are bigdatahandson.com. So lots of people are new here. So we'll open our site bigdatahandson.com, and what are our earlier videos. Everything is being loaded here, so you can just see that. And so when we started data science, part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5. So yesterday's session is here. Yesterday's session that was in linear regression is here. This is linear regression, and this is the machine learning introduction and data pre-processing, and this is the probability, that is the NumPy, MATLAB, Matplotlib, Seaborn. All those concepts are discussed here. And here, like this, we have the probability statistics, probability distribution, and here, it is the basic introduction on data science was there. So now we have entered into machine learning part. So machine learning today, we have discussed about logistic regression, and so this is our so logistic regression would be the today's session. And like you can just see here, or in tomorrow it would be k nearest neighbor, and third day it would be that is native Bayes, k means. So everything will be there, one by one. If you also want to know, like you can just go to our channel bigdatahandson.com and subscribe to our channel. Subscribe to our channel. You can just click on any of the videos here, and you can just click on subscribe. If you like our video, then you can click on like. You can click on like, or else you can click on dislike, and provide your comments so that we'll be able to rectify it in our next video. So thank you. So now Irfan, now you can continue the session. Before that, one second, let me admit all people in.
Okay, can you make me as a host?
Yeah.
So I will share the screen.
Irfan, you can be the host for maybe 10 minutes. So I'll be back. One second, let me admit all. Okay, no problem. After 10 minutes, no, I'll make you as the host.
Okay.
Yeah, we can continue.
So this is our today topic, logistic regression. So yesterday we cover linear regression. So that linear regression we uses continuous data. So that means when you have a continuous like age, weight, height, to predict the continuous data, we use the regression algorithms. But here in the logistic regression, we use this for classification algorithm. So in that logistic regression, the result will come in a binary, binary format. So which will be a categorical dependent variable. So when you have a dependent variable as a categorical, like yes or no, true or false, high or low, 0 or 1, so that's a categorical data. So when you have a dependent variable as categorical data, you can use logistic classification algorithms. One of the classification algorithm, that is logistic regression. So I will explain you why it is called logistic regression, but it is a classification algorithm. Okay. And why not a linear regression? So linear regression, uh, so in linear regression we cannot predict a binary outcome, because the output of linear regression will be the ranges between infinity to infinity. So that's why we don't use the linear regression. And at the end of the regression, we use a logic logit or sigmoid function to transform the output between the 0 to 1. After having the probability 0 to 1, we use as a threshold value, let's say 0 0.5 here. If that is a 0, if that is greater than the 0 0.5, we classify it as a class A. And if that is less than 0 0.5, we classify it as a class B. Okay, so let me explain you more about this. The classification problem will look like so this point will be, let's say, 0, the category 0, let's say, and this point will be category 1. Okay, now our data points are like this. So you can have this zeros. So in the uh, categorical data you may have only 0 or 1. So these are our data points, let's say, and this x here. So x can be weight or anything. Let's say we having weight here. Okay, now in y we have only 0 or 1. So we need to classify 0 or 1. So here we can have one, for class A, class 1, we can have some points here. So this how the classification data will look like. So if you want to uh, classify this, if you want to predict the outcome 0 or 1, if you draw a linear, if you use the linear regression, what will happen? We will draw a straight line here. Okay, we'll draw a straight line. We will draw a straight line here, and then we will minimize the distance between the points and the line. Okay, this is the linear regression what we do. So why we are not using the linear regression to classification algorithm? Let's say if you have a point here, let's say the 75 here, or any values. If that is greater than 75, we classify it as a class 1. If let's say a new point comes here, so the point will be touches the line here. So that is greater than 1. So that we classified as a 1, let's say. And now if you have a point in here, so let's say a new point here, so you can draw a line between this and to the lane, to the regression line, and we can compute the value here. So the probability will come like 0 0.2 or any values. So if that is 75, so the probability can come here. Okay, this can have any values like 0 0.5 here, let's say. And you can use linear regression for this also. So the classification problem also. What is the problem in the linear regression for classification data? So let's say if you have a outlier in there, so some value have more values here. So if you have a value like this, the outlier is added to that. So if you add a outlier in there, so what will happen? The regression line will change. So the line will come like this. Okay, okay, the line is coming like this. What's the problem when you have this line, this regression line? So we are classified as, let's if that is greater than 75, the class 1, and that is less than 0, the class 0. But here, if you draw another line here, so another regression line, it causes by a outlier. So if you draw the line for the 75 and the new regression line, the probability will comes like this. Okay, so that is less than 0.5. You say this point as 0.5 here. So now the 75 is classified as a class 0, but we know the 75 is belongs to class 1. Okay, this is the problem you get when you have an outlier, when you use the linear regression. And another problem we face, like when you have a point in here. So to here we draw a straight line to the regression line. This line will extend it to infinity, and this point comes here. So now what? Okay, now we know that where our range is between 1 to 0. Okay, when you have greater than 0, sorry, greater than 1. Okay, so when you have greater than 1, what value we will assign? When you have, let's say our point is comes here, so that will come negative, no? So when you have less than 0, what value we will assign? This problem will come in linear regression. To solve this, what we will do, we will use a function called sigmoid function. So what the sigmoid function will do, it forms a curve like this. So like S is the name as sigmoid, no? So it forms a curve like this, sigmoid. Okay, so this the same thing in sigmoid function. The threshold value is 0.5. When that is greater than 0.5, it classified as 1, and when that is less than 0.5, we classified as 0. But the advantage of sigmoid function is when you have a large value, so if that is point comes here, the value comes here, so it can be a very large value. In sigmoid function, if you have a very large value, it will come to the it will make as a 1. If you have negative value, it will come as a near to 0. Okay, that what we use the sigmoid function here. Okay, logit or sigmoid. So the sigmoid function explanation. So here in the we use the same equation. So y equal to mx plus eta for linear regression, but we will convert that to probability. Probability ranges between 1 to 0. Okay, and replacing the p with odd ratio, so we will get like this. After this all calculations, we will get a new equation. So this p equal to 1 by 1 plus e power minus mx plus c. Minus mx plus c is what we used in the uh, regression equation here, the straight line equation. If you get a value for the straight line equation, let's say you are getting a large value, after applying this formula, so 1 by 1 plus e power the value, the large value, it will convert that to 1. And if you have a less than 0, so negative values, it will convert that to 0. Okay, that's why we use the sigmoid function here, the same thing. If that mx plus c here very small, it, the probability approaches to 0, and if that is very large, the probability approaches to 1 after applying the sigmoid function. Okay, I hope you understand the logistic regression. Now we will try to implement the logistic regression. Okay, now let me create a new file here. Save this file as a logistic. So logistic regression. So let me import the library numpy pandas libraries, numpy as np, and the pandas library and matplotlib library. Okay, now let's run this. So directory has changed now. So in this directory we have the datas. So for the logistic regression, okay, let me use the okay. Okay, so let me use the data for cancer data. So in this cancer data, we have the features like diagnosis result. We don't want the ID, no. Let me ignore the ID. So we use diagnosis result, radius, structure, perimeter, area, all the features we have. So in this data,
ಹೌದಾ
our
ಕನ್ನಡ
job
ಕನ್ನಡ
our job is to predict. Okay, I will just zoom in. Okay, our job is to predict whether the person has cancer or not.
ಲೆಫ್ಟ್
M is belongs to that person.
Irfan, can you make him as mute? Someone.
ನೋಡೋದು
Okay.
Yes. And you be host for 5-10 minutes, okay?
Okay, yeah. So our job is to predict whether the person has cancer or not based on the features that I have given. So radius, texture, perimeter, all these features, and the diagnosis results what we are going to predict here. So M is the person has cancer, B is the person don't have the cancer. Okay, and let me read and create a data frame for this data, the prostate cancer .csv data. So the data frame, so the variable name, and we need to read from the local file, the csv file. So for that, the pandas have the function called read csv, and inside that we need to give the file name, prostate cancer. Okay, uh, now here we have many of let me run this and get the information about that. So after running this, we will get the data frame here in the variable explorer. So we have the columns, so the diagnosis result, radius, texture, perimeter, whatever, all these things. But now this has like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 features that we will use for independent variables. So let me try to find the information about the data, and let's find the if any empty values is there. No, we don't have any empty values. All these columns have the 100 values, and we have 10 columns. Ignore the id, so we don't want that. So this diagnosis result is our dependent variable, and all this our independent variables. So we have nearly 8 independent variables. So for the model building, we are not going to we're not going to use all the 8 features. We're just going to select the features, what features have more impact on the result. So in diagnosis result, for that we will use correlation. No, of course, uh, to find the correlation, that is very simple. So df dot core, and that's it. So you may find the correlation. So let me print, or else you can do in here itself, the console. Let me use df dot correlation, sorry. So if you see that all this but you see, if you see this, we don't have the diagnosis result column. It's because that is categorical data, so we need to convert the categorical to numerical one. After that we will try to find the correlation. Then we can find which column has more impact on the diagnosis result column. So that column we will use for our model building. So for that, first let me import the label encoder. So to convert the it's because we have only the binary categories, so m and b. For that we can only use label encoder. So that's very simple. sklearn pre-processing, import the label encoder. So let me create an object for the label encoder. Why I'm just doing before splitting the data is because I want to find which column has more impact on that. That's why I'm just converting the categories to numerical. So let me fit into the data frame, fit fit and transform to the data frame. Okay, data frame of which column? The diagnosis result column, not the all column, only the diagnosis result column where we have the category. Okay, just we need to select the column, and let's run this. Okay, now if you find the correlation df dot core, so you can see here we find the diagnosis result, and we have the correlations between the columns. So which column has more impact on that? So this column area, and this column also have, and this column also have. So let me take 1 2 3 4, let me take 4 columns here. So the compactness, symmetry, and these 2 columns. So the perimeter and the area. Okay, now we need to change the data frame to df of the df dot lock here, and all the rows. And for columns, what are the columns we want? The diagnosis result, the diagnosis result, and perimeter. and area, compactness, and the symmetry. Let me use these 4 columns to build our model, and we have selected the 4 columns, the perimeter, area, compactness, symmetry, and now we need to separate the categories. One is x for x in the data frame. So we use these 4 columns, all the rows and only these 4 columns. Copy this. Okay, and for y we use the diagnosis result column, of course all the rows and the diagnosis result column. Okay. Now let's run these columns. So now we got x and y. X is here, x the 4 columns, and y is the result column. And of course we don't want the data frame, we want the values. So let me use the values and dot values. Okay, let's run this again, this two, and we got the dependent and independent variable. And now let's what, uh, in the x it we see the ranges is changing, the scale is different, so we need to standard the scale, and for that we will use the standard scaler. So before that, before using the standard scaler, we need to split the data set into training and testing. So let me import the train test split function from the sklearn module, sklearn library, model selection module. What model selection, import the train test split function. So it returns 4 values: x train, x test, and y train, y test. So let me call the function, and inside this we need to give the 2 variables, and we need to set the size of our size of the test data. So let me use the same 25 yesterday we used, and the random state. A random state we can set like, let's set to 20 first, and then we split the data. So let's select and run this. So we splitted the data. Y train, how many data? Like 74, 75 I think, yeah, not 74, that is 75, and 25 for test data. Okay, now we need to standard the scale for x train and x test. So let me import the standard scaler from the sklearn library and pre-processing module, standard scaler. Okay, now for x we need to fit and transform for the train data, x train. For all columns we need to set, so st dot fit transform for the x train, and for x test we don't want to fit that one more time, so we just want to apply that. So we can use the transform function to apply the equation. So the same standard deviation and the mean which used to in the strain data, we use the same standard deviation and the mean for test data, and we will apply that. And so we apply the standard scaler, so it it changes to the same scale. The 4 columns are the same scale. Now what, now we need to build the model, logistic regression model. So for the building the logistic regression model, we have the class called, for all the algorithms, we have uh, the classes in the sklearn module. So you can just import and create the object of that. So in that linear model, we have the logistic 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 regression. Let me create object of that. So let me use the name as classifier. So it classifies, no, classifier. Okay. And now call the class logistic regression. Now we need to fit our logistic regression algorithm to our training data. So fit into the train data. Okay, now let's run this. So we are fitted the our class to the training data. Now we need to, it's time to predict. We use classifier, and inside that we have function called predict the test data x test, and it will return the predicted values. You can see here, so this is the predicted values and this is the test value. So you can see it correctly predicts us, like the it is actually is 1 and it's predicted also 1. So in here, if you see in the third one, so actually it's 1 but it is predicted 0. So we got the result, and it's time to find the accuracy. Okay, so this is the classification problem. For the classification problem, we don't use R squared score or mean squared error. We use a matrix called confusion matrix. So let me uh, show you this. This is a confusion matrix. Confusion matrix is a table that is often used in to describe the performance of a classification model. So this is a classifier. If you use the classifier, we will use confusion matrix to find the performance of our model. So this has the 4 values: true positive, false negative, and true negative. So true positive is what, like uh, the actual is the positive, actual is 1, let's say like class A, and actual is 1. Our model also predicted 1. That is the true positive value. And here false positive is main, like actual is positive, but our model is, sorry, no, actual is negative. Our model is predicted as positive. This is the false positive. And here actual is positive, but our model predicts negative. This is the these two are the incorrect predictions, and these two are the correct
Irfan,
predictions.
can you maximize the slide and show?
Okay. Okay. Now this is the true positive rate is the actual value is 1 and our model is predicted 1. It is negative, the actual is negative, but our model predicted positive. This is the incorrect prediction, this is the correct prediction, and this also incorrect prediction is because the actual is positive but our model predicted negative, and this one is correct prediction is because the actual is negative and also our model has predicted negative. Okay, these two are correct and these two are incorrect. So to find the accuracy, we use this equation, the ratio of correctly classified inputs to the total number of inputs. So correctly classified inputs are these two, no, true positive and the true negative. And correctly positive, correctly predicted divided by the whole number of inputs. So whole number of inputs. So this is how we will calculate uh, the accuracy. So to do in the Python, we have a function called confusion matrix in the sklearn library again, and this give you a matrix, the confusion matrix. So you can find in the sklearn library in matrix module. Inside we have import the confusion matrix. Confusion matrix. So it will return a matrix. So we call the confusion matrix. Inside this, we need to give two values: y true and the y predicted. Y true is the actual value, that is our test data, y test data, and the predicted data. Okay. Now, if you run this, so we'll get the confusion matrix like this. So 10, 2, 2, 11. So this is the 10, this true positive. That means our the actual is 1, and our model also predicted 1. So this is the true positive and the true negative, and these two are the incorrect prediction. These two are correct predictions. We have 21 correct prediction and 4 incorrect predictions. Okay. So to find the accuracy, we use like 21. This is the correct predictions divided by the whole number of inputs, that is 25. Now our accuracy is 0.84. So this is the same thing. It will give you in the classifier dot score. Okay. This will also give you the same thing. So you need to give the test data here. Okay. Let me run once again the whole thing. And okay, now it gives you 0.84, the same thing. You can just improve the accuracy by changing test size, or else we can change the randomness. So it changes now. The accuracy is changing like little bit. So 0.88 it gives me. So that's it for logistic regression. Uh, any doubts in the logistic regression? Any doubts? Okay, what doubt? Vijayanand. Vijayanand has raised the hand. Any doubts there?
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the thing. We had 100 records, right?
Yes.
But our outcome is for 25. This one. So how is that?
No.
We are just taking sample of 25 of the 100, is it?
No. In that, if you have the whole data, let's say if you have million data, we don't use the all whole data to train the model. Okay. So in that model, we choose a part of the data, and we use the data for predicting, so for building the model. And after building the model, again in that data, the rest of the data, like 25% of data, let's say. So we use the 25% data for predicting the model, how the model is performing. Okay. We don't use the same data which we use for building the model. If you use the same data for predicting and training, it gives you a more accuracy, and if you use the new data, we need to use the new data to find the performance of the model. That's why we are splitting the data. Okay. Now the 25, if you have 100 data, so the 25 data will go to the test data. So the new data, let's say, that's the data which we'll use to predict. And the rest of the data, the 75 data, will go to the train data, which will use for training our model. Okay. I hope you understand that.
Yes, yes, thanks.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Any doubts? Other any doubts? So now we will move on to the next classification algorithm. Okay, I think okay, let's move on to the next algorithm. That also says same classification algorithm, decision tree. So decision tree is called a COT algorithm. COT means classification and regression trees. So for trees, decision tree you can use for classification as well as regression. Okay, that's the first point, the classification and the regression capabilities. So decision trees are capability with both type of task, regression and as well as classification and computationally efficiency. And this decision tree, since using a in-memory classification model, do not bring in high computation cost and arbitrary complicated decision boundaries. So in decision boundaries, what we do basically, we will it's like a drop down from top to bottom drop downing, like putting some conditions in there. And there's a decision tree here, and is uses for banks for loan approvals, just because of their extreme transparency of rule-based decision making. So when you have more decisions, you can use the decision tree for that. And the last point is data quality. So in the decision tree brings in the capability to handle a data set with a huge degree of errors and missing values. That means for decision tree algorithms, you can give the data. If you have uh, missing values also, you can give the data to the decision tree. It will work on the data. but, but other algorithms, we need to handle the missing values. You cannot handle the empty value, but decision tree can handle that. And also uh, an advantages of decision tree is like, in the decision tree, if you see, can handle data with both numeric and nominal data, which means we don't have to encode the categories. For logistic regression, we encoded no. So for M and we put 1, for B we put 0. In decision tree, not that case. We can also give the categorical data without converting into numerical one. Okay, and error rates, they have relatively higher error rates. If you have let's say impact number of attributes, that means when you have a huge amount of huge columns, if you give that, it will make complex and it can produce some wrong result. Okay, so if it would be very hard to imagine a decision tree returning accurate segments. So every decision tree can't return accuracy, so accurate results. So if you have more columns in that, and for example, I'm taking this example. So temperature, outlook, humidity, windy and played is what we are going to predict. So the match happens, let's say cricket match. So the cricket match happens or not when you have these features, like temperature is mild or temperature is hot, or outlook it's sunny or overcast or raining, and humidity, what values are there, and windy. Okay, this, for using these four features, we will predict this match is happened or played or not. This is the, for example, I'm taking for decision tree to explain about you the decision tree. Okay, so for decision tree, it's look like this. Okay, for lots of decisions we make. uh, so if you have a condition in there, so for the condition we have many results. Let's say outlook. So in that outlook, we have three categories. One is sunny, overcast, and rain. So we split it into three nodes: sunny, overcast, and rain. So if you have sunny, what condition we put? Okay, what we get? So, and we put another condition here. So humidity. Let's say humidity is less than 75. Okay, it's played. Okay. Uh, Outlook is sunny and humidity is 75. We don't play, so no, like that. So less than 75, we put all the values what we get, so yes or no. And based on this, we will try to predict. Okay, and here nodes, what is the nodes? Nodes are the conditions, or are the nodes which it is splitting the data. Like let's say Outlook here. So Outlook is a node that is splitting into the three parts. This is the node and this is the node, and the first starting node is called as a root node. From the tree is begins, that is the root node. No, so from the tree is beginning, that is the root node, and the last values which we have, that is the leaf node. It's called a leaf node, or you can have edges, outcome of a split into next node. Or edges is called, this also is called an edge, is because from the output of the node is getting the edge, and from this edge it is getting a last node, that is our leaf node. Okay, this is the decision tree, how it look like. And and if you see here, we have four independent variables and only dependent variables. Okay, in that four independent variables, which feature to use as a root node? This is the question here. So we can use temperature, we can use Outlook, we can use humidity, or we can use windy. Why we are using Outlook? Okay, this is the question arise. Which feature to use as a root node? Okay, to select the root node, we uses a method called entropy. So entropy is the measure of impurity. That means, let's say if you have a plate, in that plate you have fruits. So it belongs to, let's say, in that plate you only have the apples. So if you want, let's say a person to select a fruit in that plate. So what will the probability we get to select the fruit? So if you have only one fruit, the probability one, of course the probability is one, because it has only one fruit. Okay, now let's say if you have two fruits, apple and orange. Now what is the probability of getting a fruit, so selecting a fruit? Of course the probability will 0.5. Okay, as the amount of like categories is changing, like when you have adding more fruits in that, our impurity also decreases. Sorry, impurity is impurity is increasing, purity is changing. It's because the probability is decreasing. Okay, so that's the calculation of impurity, that we use entropy. And another we have Gini index also. First let me explain this entropy first. So entropy of a, uh, feature, let's say the play golf. In that play golf, the summation of minus pi, the probability of getting the yes or no, and multiply by the log base 2 probability of getting yes or no. So if you see here, so entropy of 5 comma 9. So like the pi, the probability of getting s. So what is the probability of getting s? 9 divided by 14. Yeah, 9 divided by 14, which will give you the probability of 0.64. And the probability of no, what is the probability of no? So 5 divided by 14, the probability of no is 0.36. So we will calculate minus into minus 0.36, the probability of getting no, multiply by the log to the probability. So the minus, again minus the sum of, and the same thing for s. So this is the entropy of the play golf. Okay, now for calculating the uh, impurity, we have one more method, one more equation, Gini index. And Gini index is used for the same thing, for calculating the impurity, but it is compared to Gini index and entropy, Gini index is best. It's because in the entropy, if you see, all this time we use log function. uh, that's why a little bit slower than Gini index. Okay, entropy. Now in the Gini index, what we do is sum of the probability squared. Okay, 1 minus the sum of probability squared. So we are just squaring it. That's why uh, Gini index is little better than entropy, and based on this we will uh, calculate the impurity. So if that is impurity is higher, then we will split again. Okay, if you see here, so this impurity is no impurity, so it's because we have high impurity. We have only one category here, yes, but here or here we have two categories. That's why we are splitting into that, splitting based on the mm, conditions, and information gain. So information gain is used for selecting the feature, so the root node. So which root node from where we need to start. Okay, that's why we use the information gain. Information gain is coming like gain of t comma x, entropy of t. Here t is nothing but the feature, and minus entropy of t in that outlook. So x another feature. So gain of the play golf in that outlook feature. So entropy of play golf, which we find before, the same thing we will find for outlook. Okay, we will subtract the entropies, and then we will get a gain for the outlook feature. The same we will do for every feature. So outlook, temperature, humidity, windy. From these four feature which have the more information gain. So of course outlook has more information gain, so it has 0.247. So we are assuming we are selected the future, that is outlook, that has more information gain on that. So based on that we will try to drop down from the top to bottom. Okay, this is how the decision tree is working. Okay, now let me go to the uh, spider, and one more, let me create another file. Let me create a new file for decision tree. And one more interesting thing in decision tree algorithm is we can also visualize the tree. So uh, how our trees look like. So we can see this tree in that our output also. I will show you that later. First we will build the model. After that we will visualize that. And for this, what okay, for this let me use the iris data. So it has three categories: setosa, versicolor, and vaginica. It has the sepal length and sepal width, petal length and the petal width, the width of the leaf and the length of the leaf. So given the length and width, you need to categorize which flower is belongs to setosa or vesicular or vaginica. Okay, further let me copy the things what we used in this. Just copy it and paste it here. We don't want this. And for the file, that is iris data. And if you don't have iris data, we have in the default uh, if you don't have the iris data also, you can get the iris data from the Seaborn library. If you don't have that, in that Seaborn, same thing, df Seaborn dot load data of iris. Many data are available in Seaborn, but for this we are just using the iris data. Okay, we can use this also, so to get the data. Now let me use the file. So read csv file, and here in the iris data, first four columns are uh, independent variables, and the class is our dependent variable. So for this, let me split the data into X and dependent and independent variables. Like I said, first four are the independent variable, and the last fourth column is our dependent variable. Now let's run this. So before that, I will remove the variables. Okay, now let's run this. Okay, we got the X and Y. X, so it has four columns, and Y we have the categories. And now I'm not going to encode this category. I'm just feeding the uh, categorical data so also to the decision tree. Let's see how it is predicting. Okay, now now it's to splitting the data. So splitting the data. So just splitting the data. Okay, and then we need to build the model. So to build the model, we need a class for decision tree. So in that tree module, the sklearn library, we have the decision tree. Decision tree. You can see here we have two classes: decision tree classifier and the regressor. So we use the classification. For that, we can use decision tree classifier. Okay. Now let's create a object of the decision tree. And in decision trees, uh, in the defaultly it is set to the for you it uses a defaultly it uses a Gini index. But if you want to change, you can change in the parameters. So you can select the criterion. We have many parameters are there. So if you want to use entropy, the defaultly that is criterion is Gini index. If you want to use entropy, you can just select the entropy. And now we got, I think, yes. Then we need to fit our classifier to the training data. Fit into the training data X train and the Y train. Okay, let's run this. Okay, now we are fitted the classifier to our training data. Now we need to predict that. You see that I'm not encode the categories. So it will give me the same output as a categories. So predict of the X test data. Let me run this. You see the wipe. Okay, it's not opening. Let me show you in this console. So you can see here the predicted also has a categorical one. So it's also giving me a result as a categorical. So now we need to see the confusion matrix.
Irfan, can you make others on mute? Some noise, no, we are able to hear. We need to upload.
Sorry.
Yes, good.
Okay. So then we need to give the predicted data. Then it will give you the confusion matrix. So now you have three values, but But before we see only the uh, 2 by 2 matrix, but here it is giving 3 by 3 matrix. Is why? Because if you have three categories, no, that's why it is giving 3 by 3 matrix. These three are the correct prediction, but all these the values are incorrect predictions. Only we have two incorrect predictions, but these are correct predictions. That means 28 are correct predictions and 2 are incorrect prediction. That means our accuracy will look like the 28 divided by 30, so 0.93. Okay, it's pretty good. uh, we are done with the predictions. Now I said before, we can see the decision tree of our classifier. How we can do that? I have this code here, so I will just copy it here. This will give you the dot file of our tree, decision tree. So here feature names we need to give. What the feature name, the four feature names and the class names, Setosa, Vesicle and Virginica, and all these things for all the parameters. And is our output file tree dot dot, and from this dot file we will convert that to png file. Okay, now let's run this. After running this, you may find a dot file in your directory. So you can find here. So here we have the dot file of our decision tree. So to convert the decision tree to sorry, dot file to png, I found this online converter dot to png, and we need to choose the file. Let's drop this file here. No, it's not dropped. Okay, now put converter. It will convert and give you as a png file, and then download the png file. After downloading that, if you open, you can find the tree of your classifier. It's taking more time to open. Why? Oh, what? So this our decision tree is look like for our data, for the iris data. So it is taking the petal width as the root node, and it's calculating the gene impurity and split into the categories, and it is just drop downing uh, all these to bottom to get the leaf nodes. These are all the leaf nodes. You see here in that leaf node, all the Gini index is 0. When you have the Gini index, you don't have any impurity. That means we are classified that. Okay. So then if you give a new point to that after creating this tree, if you give some new points, based on that new points, it will try to find which leaf node is belongs to. Like if you have a less than 0.8 the petal width, it give you setosa. Okay, and then if you have greater than 8, it will come to here, and another time it will find if that is petal width less than 1.65. So what's the value, and from this it will just drop downing this thing. After that we will get some leaf node, whatever it can be, here, it here, here, it can be anywhere. Okay. Okay, now we can end from this. So any doubts you have, you can ask that. I will just open the logistic regression also. Okay. Okay. Okay, any doubts?
Any doubts, please ask. Irfan, can you make me as a host?
Okay.
Any doubts? We'll give you a minute time. If there is any doubts, please let us know, and please chat.
Okay,
Please
we
chat.
save the
Yeah, go ahead.
we save the output, that tree diagram, in dot file, right? Why not directly in PNG? Can we not save directly in PNG or something?
No, it in the class, in the export graphics function will only give you as a dot file output. If you want to change
Oh,
directly, or else if you give some like dot format, uh, and also in Python we have a module. Tomorrow I will show you that. So we have a module called py dot plus. So using that py dot plus, you can directly convert the dot file to uh, PNG. Okay.
okay.
Why use confusion matrix?
Irfan, can you copy and paste the
Yes,
out,
yes, sure.
so your notepad,
Okay.
so everyone can view it?
And this question, and another question, uh, why use confusion matrix only in not only in logistic regression, we will use all classification algorithms, we use confusion matrix. This because the output of the classification algorithms is only as a ones and zeros, like that. So that's for that we use confusion matrix. For decision tree also we are using the confusion matrix as well. Can we okay,
We use confusion matrix only to see, right, that how accurate our model is, like how good it is in prediction.
yes, yes. And another thing, can you explain sigmoid function? So in sigmoid function is uses in the uh, logistic regression. Why we use sigmoid function is because when you have a outlier on that, we can use linear regression for that, for classification. But the problem is, when you have an outlier of that, if that is greater than 1, but our range is from 0 to 1 only. But if that is goes to 0 greater than 1, what will be the what value we can take that? So that's why we use a sigmoid function. What it will do, it will convert a large value to the near to 1, and it will convert the negative values to near to the 0. This is the explanation of this. If mx plus c is very small, then the probability, the value approaches to 0. But if you have a very large, then large value, then the p approaches to 1. Okay, that's the thing why we use the sigmoid function. Okay, any other doubts?
Sigmoid function is only
I cannot hear you.
sigmoid function or whatever that we use only in classification algorithm, right?
No, it uses in for logistic regression only, and also we will use for in deep learning also we will use uh, uh, the logistic regression. Why? Sorry, sigmoid function. Why we are using the sigmoid function is to change the range of the output of our output. That's why we use the sigmoid function.
Oh, okay. So converting everything in within 0
Into the
and
range.
1, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
After that, if you we will give you a threshold value, like let's say 0.5. If that is greater than 0.5, we will classify it as class A, let's say. And if that is less than 0.5, it belongs to class B. So that's what.
Oh, okay. Got it. Thank you.
Okay, and another question, in logistic regression, we first predict the y test and y predictor. In same later we change to x test and x test to y test. What? In same later we change to x test to y test. What? First predict the y test. No, we predict the x test. We predict using the x test, and after that we use the y test for let's see here we have the training and testing data. Training and testing data, we use the training data of x and y both for training the model, and after that we use the x test data only, okay, not the y test, x test data, and it will give you the result. So after this calculating a result, we will compare those result, x test sorry y test and the y predicted. Y test is the actual and y predicted is what the result is our model is giving, okay. Then we will put confusion matrix over that, okay. Any other doubts? Any other doubts?
It's the last call. Any other doubts you have? I guess no, right? And we are assuming that you are clear with the logistic linear regression which we took yesterday, and logistic regression, and also the decision tree part. So let me just share my screen. Lots of people have joined newly. So if you go to bigdatahandson.com/videos, then you will be able to see our old videos. That is our previous sessions, linear regression, and the what is that? The data pre-processing part is been here. If you go to meet menu, meetup uploads, meetup videos, then you should be able to get it. So here we go. So this is the so this part is the this session is the yesterday's session and day before yesterday's session. Here is linear regression, and here is the data pre-processing, and this is the matplotlib and other modules, Seaborn and other NumPy and all those sessions has been here. And here is the probability distribution, probability statistics, probability distribution is here, and basics on data science and statistics part is here. If you want, you can also refer it. But machine learning, it is not. That is, these are all the statistics part, and these two are the machine learning part, data pre-processing and the linear regression. Logistic regression has been done today, and in 20 minutes the video would get uploaded in our site bigdatahandson.com, or else like you can also you can also join our chat. I have given the our chat, the WhatsApp chat group link. I have sent you in the chat. You can just see that inside the chat part. So this is our WhatsApp group link. So you can make use of it, and like you can join in our group, no, if you want. If you're clicking it, no, you can join in our group. So whatever updates, no, we make, no, everything you can get it. And the other thing is, like, you can also call us at 978-988-424, which is again here. So this is our number, 978-988-424 and 9566182384. You can WhatsApp us. And the last thing is, like, you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, bigdatahandson.com. So whatever videos we posted, no, you would get all those updates inside inside this. And also you can just click on this to view the sessions. You can give likes or dislikes, whatever you need. If you are giving dislikes, please ensure you provide your right comments, so it would be useful for us to rectify it in our next session. And that's it. So tomorrow's session, what we are going to discuss is this one, that is the logistic regression has been done, k nearest neighbor and random forest algorithm. Please ensure, like, you have a basic notes of it. Just browse it in internet or whatever. So like, we would be able to assist you. So this, we are complete hands-on practice. It is not like a presentation. So like, few people have mentioned that presentation is good. Yeah, even though if we have 10% of presentation, we have only a hands-on practice here. So whatever we do it, no, we produce it in our screen and show the actual output, how it works. So that's why we are named, we are named itself as bigdatahandson.com. So k nearest neighbors and random forest would be done on June 8th morning, 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. Indian Standard Time. Thank you for all the people who have joined the session. And so tomorrow morning, myself, Khalil Ahmed, Dinesh Kumar, and Irfan, we three will be connecting for this section tomorrow morning. The same meeting ID would be included, and we shall meet you. Thank you.
Thank you.